Measures will address challenges, and that's according to President Akufo-Addo when he addressed the nation in Parliament on Wednesday. And we'll be interrogating some of the pronouncements in that speech, the issue of the road infrastructure. Of course, we have a former road minister in the studio who will help us to appreciate some of these things. President Akufo-Addo touted infrastructure achievements, and that's also captured on page 16 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Life picking up at borders. Aflao Elubo Paga traders excited following the lifting of restrictions, and of course those engaged in cross-border trade are happy with the development, hoping that it will help ramp up activity. COVID-19 updates. Unvaccinated persons pose danger to society, and that's according to the Ghana Medical Association. Of course, despite the fact that restrictions are being eased around the world, you need to still adhere to the protocols and ensure that you take your jab. Danger looms over old foreign ministry building. NADMO demands its immediate demolition. The Ghanaian Times led with this story today, page 17. If you want to read more, grab a copy of that. President has sent to e-levy Act. I'm just being informed that it has become Act 1075, and of course it is law now. We are waiting to see what the Supreme Court decision on the minorities relief they are asking for will impact as far as the e-levy is concerned. We've already read the story. We can start with the conversation. I'll introduce my guests for today's discussion. On my immediate left is the Honorable Inusa Hussaini, the former Member of Parliament. Reflection of why you are in smoke today.
I'm taking up after my senior. You know, we're learning from them day and night, and I think I'm actually hoping that just as we introduce African Wear on Friday, maybe someday we'll do a smoke day, maybe on Mondays. I don't know. So that is up for tourism ministry and trade and industry to push, so that maybe smoke will become a Monday or Wednesday where we need to sell our own. It's very important. If we should make smoke day, then we would help local industry, and the textile industry will be actually up and running. So in that same spirit of Friday wear, African Friday wear, maybe I think officially Northern region has to be represented one of the days, and that might be Wednesday or Monday. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. President Akufo-Addo has assented to the electronic transaction levy bill, officially making it a law. Beginning May 1, 2022, the Ghana Revenue Authority will start collecting the e-levy. Parliament on Tuesday passed the bill after the minority walked out in protest of the controversial tax policy. While the GRA and the stakeholders prepare to operationalize the e-levy, the minority has dragged the AG to the Supreme Court, challenging the passage of the new revenue measure. But as it stands now, the e-levy is law, and it has become Act 1075, which means until the Supreme Court decides otherwise, the collection will go as planned. Let me open this conversation with Honorable Inusa Hussaini, of course, an experienced lawyer, to help us appreciate some of the legalities within this subject. The President assented to the e-levy bill into law yesterday, and I was wondering, let me start by picking your thoughts on the e-levy itself before we look at some of the matters arising.
So thank you so very much for this opportunity to be part of your discussions today, and to thank my friend for sharing the platform with him. I've been on several platforms with him, and I'm encouraged because his kind of politics is different from most people. And anytime you are with him, you can assure yourself that, or you can be confident that the discussion will be quite interesting and informing. And again, let me state categorically that the assent to the bill is a duty conferred on the President by the Constitution. And that constitutes the enacting formula for bills in this country. The bill must be passed by Parliament and assented to by the President. So a bill passed by Parliament without the presidential assent is no law. And the President cannot assent a bill if it is not passed by Parliament. So there are two critical institutions, the legislature and the executive, that give legitimacy to a bill. And so what the President did yesterday was in furtherance of the duty conferred on him by the Constitution. Indeed, the Constitution gives even the President a time frame within which to sign bills. And if he fails within that time frame to sign bills forwarded to him for signature, for assent, he must give reasons. He must return the bill to Parliament as soon as possible and give reasons why he's refusing to sign. And Parliament can ignore the President and then pass the bill into law. Ignore the President. So you see, I had said when the minority took the matter to court was that, look, I am yet to see a decision of the court restraining an official conferred with a duty, and in this particular case, a constitutional duty, restrained by the court from performing that duty.
Impossible.
It's quite, I mean, well...
Is that the relief they are seeking?
I read that they were seeking to injunct the President. Injunction is just... to stop him from signing. And I'm saying that the Constitution imposes that responsibility. Even if we stretch the argument further, if the Supreme Court purports to do that, it will be in violation of a constitutional provision. Because it's the Constitution that confers that duty. And so
it's almost like stopping a policeman from arresting
somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so I didn't see how it was going to be possible. Now the President has signed the bill into law, so the dynamics have changed. Now we have an enactment. We have an enactment. So what the minority went to court to do was, one, to have a declaration that the bill was passed unconstitutionally. Okay. Now probably they are relieved with that enactment is unconstitutional. How? Because it's not an enactment. Because the Supreme Court will say, I mean, in my view, that yes, so you came to court to arrest the assent to the bill. Now the bill has been assented to. So what do you want us to arrest?
So from the legal point of view, when it happens this way, can they amend what they are asking for in terms of moving away from the bill to maybe reversing the law?
They can amend. The Supreme Court can give them an opportunity to amend. And so we'll have to wait to see whether they will go to amend.
Okay.
Now, so the matter, and let's come back. Nobody is saying that what the minority did by going to court is wrong. In fact, I have said on several platforms, Adumago, that the minority has done a fantastically wonderful job. When the bill was introduced in Parliament, the majority or the government never thought the bill would stay in Parliament for more than 2 weeks. In fact, they actually thought that the bill would be passed with the budget. In fact, they were so confident that the bill will face
overly confident
that the bill will face no opposition in Parliament, that the road minister, in anticipation of the passage of the e-levy, scrapped the payment of the road tolls.
Done deal.
It was done deal, they consider it. Now, the opposition to the bill by the minority was so intense that it resulted into fisticuffs.
Unfortunately,
in Parliament. Now, it also attracted the interest of researchers on the social impact, social and economic impact of the bill on the people and businesses in Ghana. It's because of the opposition to the bill. It compelled government to send its ministers around the country.
Town halls.
Town hall meetings. Further engagement. It is precisely because of the stance of the... So I have no doubt in my mind that opposition did very, very well. The minority, they must be commended. But I thought that they will fight it to the end. You see, there's a democratic consensus in this country that whenever a decision is going to be made, whenever a debate is going to be concluded, whenever a policy is to be passed, Parliament must decide the outcome through a process of voting. That's the consensus. So even when the President presented his State of the Nation address in Parliament, and the Speaker of Parliament wanted an indication of how Parliament could move forward, the Majority Leader, when he was invited, moved for the adjournment of the House. The Minority Leader seconded the adjournment. So a decision had to be taken whether the House should be adjourned. It was put to a vote. That's the consensus. That's the democratic consensus. So even though the minority fought very hard and made e-levy a national issue, today if you go anywhere, everybody knows about e-levy. I mean, even people in secondary schools, in junior secondary schools are debating e-levy. I thought that their decision to walk out was an anticlimax. The journey was so exciting. Everybody was following it. Every day. Can you imagine when they even passed the e-levy? I didn't know. There was somebody who drew my attention. Do you know that e-levy had been passed? I said, how? Because I expected that the ending would have been as dramatic as the beginning. That the minority will call for a secret ballot. That ballots will be presented to members of Parliament. That the whips will line up behind their members and ensure that they whip them into line. And those who are opposed to the bill will cast no. Because you see, I've seen a research who says that about 95% of Ghanaians are not in favor of e-levy. I don't know whether it includes my friend here, Adumako. I won't know. And Adumako will never say. Because a member of the majority in Parliament, he will never say. It has dire consequences if he makes a public pronouncement. But those consequences are lessened, are reduced, if Adumako is to exercise his franchise in determining whether to support the bill or to oppose it through a secret ballot. And I'll give you another example. When Michael Kay and Blackburn stood for speakership, because it was a secret ballot, up to now the majority in Parliament suspects some persons not to have voted for him, but they can never mention. They are afraid to mention because they have no evidence.
Okay. And we'll come back to some of the details, but let me bring in Doc. Doc, you've had some sort of explanation, legal explanation as to all that has happened as far as the e-levy is concerned. It has been passed now, and that's what the majority, in fact, the government has been praying for. What next in terms of the promises attached to the e-levy?
Well, thanks for the opportunity to be here, and I'm also very happy to be seated by a senior, most former member. In fact, I love his submission, and one key thing that he's added to this is the fact that the minority did a very good job in holding government, up. And let me say some very key things, which I thought the minority leader should have at least made noise about. One key thing is they've held government more accountable in the sense that now Finance Ministry agreed to use the consolidated fund, which was not the case when the bill was initially provided. And in addition, Ghana Revenue Authority his role, I mean, the role of the Ghana Revenue Authority is so clear, and it wasn't the case before. So I really think that there are two things. I'm in love with Finance Minister for, you know, backing down and agreeing to these concessions. And then I'll give a plus to the, you know, minority for pushing hard for these things. And that is that bit that they should have come out truthfully to Ghanaians and said that, listen, in as much as we oppose, we've been able to make these gains. And these gains are monumental. So I really think that the minority should...
Monumental, but in the sense of businesses and the ordinary Ghanaian, some of the view that the percentage is high for the starts.
Listen, yesterday I was actually discussing this with one young lady, and I was like, wait a minute. When you send money, you give MTN 1%, really, you know, and then government is asking for 1.5% so that we can do more roads for you. I mean, with the 1%, MTN has done wonderful job at Tema General Hospital. They built a whole maternity block at Tema General with 1%. And that was a corporate social responsibility thing they did. Can you imagine what government can do with just that additional 1.5 that you're given? And let me be, you know, a bit careful with this statement. Every Sunday, countless Ghanaians pour out their hearts and monies to churches. Way more than this.
That's voluntary.
That is voluntary. And that, we don't see that on our roads. Do we see it on our roads? We don't see it in the water we drink. We don't see it anywhere. And yet, we do this. And why won't we then generously also give to government this 1.5 so that government can put us on better roads? And one key thing here, let me be very clear. Our internet service, as we see now, still needs improvement. I mean, when you're in the UKs and the Switzerlands, I mean, you load information so quick. We are happy with the speed we have here, but mind you, they're faster speed than what we have now. We're driving with Toyotas now, and they are using Ferraris. I mean, in terms of the internet speed. And I really think that the e-levy is going to improve the technological infrastructure. And that bit is something that I'm very happy about, that our technological infrastructure is going to be improved because of the e-levy. And I liken this to what a lot of our young ones do at the university. You make orders on internet, and yet the orders are delivered to you by motor or by car, and all these deliveries use the road. And why not contribute to this whole process whereby you do your orders on internet and your delivery comes on a very polished road? And it's to all of us our benefit. So I beg all of us that, listen, we're putting our money where our mouth is, which is that we always are demanding from government, fix my roads, fix this and fix that. And government is giving us an opportunity to also contribute so that it's not just words of demands, but words of contribution. And I really also see that as a huge plus financially, in the sense that now our finance minister and government and Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo can boldly tell the investors that, listen, we are also putting into the investment of the country. And in as much as Ghanaians are concerned about our development, we are actually putting in some monies towards that.
We heard from the roads minister that the e-levy will be securitized to issue bonds and raise more funds. And is that going to happen?
Now, one of the key things that I may need to add, and this is one thing that Osei Chairman Sabosu appealed to the minority, that listen, now that this thing is in law, your focus, our focus, should be making sure that the revenues generated will go to the key things which we requested for, which is our roads and infrastructure. And I really think that that was a very powerful, let me say, advice to the minority and also to Ghanaians, that our level of scrutiny, our level of demanding accountability from government should be upped so that when this money goes into the consolidated fund, we can track carefully what percentages are going towards our roads and infrastructure. Now, we are very much behind in terms of our financial instrumentation for our roads in this country. Elsewhere, most of the roads are based on bonds, and more importantly, municipals are able to go on the market and actually secure loans on their own. We don't have that system in this country, whereby, you know, Gas Central Municipal can go on the market, secure loans for our roads, and let the people pay, you know, from end to end. And I really think that this is the beginning of a new era, whereby we're upping our financial instrumentation to help improve on our infrastructure. Okay. And it's a plus, a huge plus. And I really think that it is commendable.
I'll come back to you. Let's bring in Kojo Kwesi, who is an economist and has joined us on Zoom for some analysis of this very important discussion. Kojo, thank you so much for your time. Kojo, can you hear me? We seem to be having a bit of a challenge. We are working to rectify it. But let me bring you in. You have granted many interviews on this subject of the NDC being in court, the minority, being in court to challenge the passage of the e-levy, which is now a law. Following the walkout of the minority, you said in some of these interviews that the strategy was not ideal. And your argument has been that the quorum formation article, which is 104, is not self-invoking. You just reiterated that that would have taken an MP on the floor to draw the attention of the Speaker to make a determination in that regard. But your colleague, Dr. Dominic Ayini, who is also a former Deputy Attorney General, is of the view that once there is a constitutional breach, according to him, it doesn't matter whether you made the move to more or less bring to the attention of the Speaker that there isn't a quorum for him to put the question on the floor of Parliament. And I was wondering if that makes some sort of legal sense to you.
Well, so that is what they are in court to test. They are in court basically on the decision in the Justice Ablai in the Attorney General's case, where the Supreme Court had opportunity to consider Article 104 of the Constitution and determine that the quorum for voting, the Supreme Court even christened it. We used to say when I was in Parliament that we didn't have the numbers to take a decision. That was what we used to say. The Supreme Court now has given us a name for it. Yeah. It says voting quorum. The voting quorum is 138, and that the Deputy Speaker or a person presiding in Parliament can count himself in for the purposes of determining the quorum, and actually can vote for the purposes of taking the decision. So they are in the court to test it. And I have said in some of my interviews that what they are in court for is what we call the numbers logic. It's not a factual basis, or if you want, evidence of some impropriety being done. They are just saying that, look, we are 137 in Parliament, and we were not in Parliament. That left the Parliament with 138. But even out of the 138, we are aware that one person was absent, and that's the MP for Dummy. And that brings the number to 137. Assuming that you are even dealing with 137, the provision in Article 104 says half of all members of Parliament, of all underlined members of Parliament present. So assuming that you are dealing with even 138, they had 137. So it's a numbers logic. And I'm saying that against this numbers logic, and that's why I'm strengthened in my belief that that provision is not self-invoking. There is a provision in the evidence decree, that is section 37 of the evidence decree, that creates a presumption of regularity. That you, being an official of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, performing official duties, is deemed to have performed those duties irregularly, unless the contrary can be established. So it's a presumption of regularity. And that's why in Parliament at various times, we passed legislation, we took decisions without referring to Article 102.
No, you relied solely on 102.
No, we didn't rely on 102. 102 is a business of the House. If the Speaker enters the House, and there are not up to about 92 members of Parliament in Parliament, business cannot commence. At the start of business, someone will just draw the Speaker's attention that there's no quorum. After prayers and everything, and the start of business, we say no, there's no quorum. That's it. Okay. Article 104 is that there's business. You are more than we are more than 92 in the House, and you can debate policies and programs, but you can't take a decision. You can even debate loan agreements, but you can't take a decision because you are not up to the number that is required to take a decision. It's a democratic injunction that the majority must take that decision. Okay.
Be aware.
Well, be aware of that decision. That it's a situation that prevents only a few people sitting down and taking decisions for all of us. That's why they are saying that you must be at least half. Okay. Now, because of the presumption of regularity, and in the parliaments that I have worked, most decisions have been taken with a reference to quorum, because nobody actually raised the quorum. So you see, so you take the decision, and the presumption kicks in that at the time you took the decision, everything was regular. And those decisions are law. I mean, they are in practice now. Okay. And there are many. I don't want to give example, and then there are many.
But that preceded Abdullahi Visis, Attorney General, and Justice Kulendi has stated that we cannot continue to take decisions when we don't have the required number.
Oh no, but the Constitution and Parliament are of the same age. I don't know of the same age. They are the same age. The Constitution is 32 years. The Parliament is 32 years old.
And not to cut you off, yes, but recently,
30 years old, yes.
Some loan agreements were, agreed on, even after this reiteration of a known quorum argument. I mean, it didn't take Supreme Court to tell us what a quorum is, really. I mean, we know it. And it's just that some faction or some side just, does not want to agree. And I really think that we need to do Ghanaians a good service, whereby, in spirit and in principle, we show them that we understand the rudiments and we know where we've erred. This idea of tasking Supreme Court to decide for us when we actually already know is so unfair to the justice system. I mean, they should use their time on very, very crucial and important matters of the state. And I really think that I would beg the opposition or the minority that, this case, for instance, clearly, I mean, they know within their hearts of hearts that, they don't really have a case. I really think so.
Yeah, that's your assumption. But I'll come back to you. The economists want to take leave of us, so let's pick this thought quickly. Kojo, thank you so much for your time. Can you hear me now?
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. The e-levy is now law, and right from the passage, we've seen the bonds on the capital market as far as our country is concerned rallying, which is an indication that the international investor community is watching keenly on what's happening as far as government's revenue programs for this year is concerned. The minority is in court again, challenging the passage of the bill, which has become law now. And I was wondering if that will send any sort of signal to the investors again.
Thanks for having me today. And good morning, where I am this afternoon, but good morning to our cherished viewers and then also to my co-panelists. I'm not wearing my smock yet, but I have one. One day I'll wear it. So from the legal perspective, interestingly, I have a legal background, so I want to chip in a bit. Okay. From the legal perspective, I believe that prior to the passage of the e-levy, the minority kept on harping on the fact that Parliament is a master of its own laws. And then the Supreme Court have come out to say that no, they themselves, the Supreme Court, have the authority to determine whether an act of parliament is null and void or not, right? So as things stand, we have to revert back to the minorities issue of parliament being a master of its own procedures. My issue is that in terms of quorum, why did the speaker not raise that? Or could the amendment of the standing orders also take into account that members of parliament could actually vote in the future via proxy, so they can determine that they want to vote, but not necessarily being present in parliament, but then giving us their views. So all these are issues that we need to look at. But in terms of procedure, I believe that the Supreme Court might necessarily push the issue back to parliament for parliament to determine that the procedure that they use to pass the law or the bill is something that they have to decide. So if it's a voice vote, it is a matter for parliament to decide and not for the Supreme Court. And if it was something by secret ballot, all of these are some, issues that parliament should decide. So I'm looking at a scenario where Supreme Court will push the issue back to parliament. But on the bond side of things, at the moment, a lot of things are working for the Ghanaian government. I'm not a member of the government, but I think that when the whole e-levy brouhaha started back in November, December last year, the investment community or investor community saw that Ghana might not necessarily have the wherewithal to not just balance this budget or say have the necessary appropriation in terms of what they want to do going forward. So I think that was the issue that affected our bonds or the coupons on our bonds. But currently, we have affirmed to the community that yes, we can pass our laws, we can get the necessary revenue that we've said that we want to. So that in a way has given affirmation that Ghana can actually pay its bills going forward. So that is what has actually rallied investors to come to our aid, I'll say. And then also, it's not just that also. We're looking at the fiscal consolidation exercises that the finance minister came up with last week. All in all, a bit of taxes have been reduced. I can say that fuel prices have reduced or they are about to be reduced. So with all of these, you can say that Ghana has attained a level of positivity, and investors always want certainty. You see, where there is uncertainty, that is where your coupons and your interest rates definitely go up. So that together with the Bank of Ghana's increase of interest rates has sort of given us an idea where Ghana will be within the short to medium term. So the passage of the e-levy, Ghana's tax to GDP ratio has also gone up. So in a way, everyone knows that going forward, Ghana will be attracting some level of investment. But for me, what is really key is that going forward, there are so many possibilities within the digital space or the digital economy. And a lot of transactions are going to be in that space. And the Bank of Ghana is looking at ECD. So for those who are saying that we are not going to use Momo, that is something that long term we have to also have a rethink, because there might be a time that the actual fiscal cash in circulation might actually reduce and everything will be done electronically. So there are different ways that going forward, I think Ghana can actually have a better way of taxing its citizens. And that is what has given the investor community the fillip to actually have some level of confidence in the Ghanaian economy going forward. Thanks.
Kojo, very finally with you. We heard some time back from the roads minister that Ghanaians should accept the e-levy. Once passed, they will securitize the fund and ensure that we can issue bonds in that regard. And I was wondering what that would mean for our appetite for further borrowing, looking at the fact that our debt to GDP has crossed the 80% threshold, and that will not be well for us as a country.
My understanding, I've seen or I've heard the roads minister say a lot of things. I think he's a hardworking minister, but probably the way he comes across, maybe we don't understand how he wants to say certain things. So I am not, from my side, I'm not thinking that the e-levy money that we take, let's say we make $100 million from e-levy, that we are using that as collateral. That is not my understanding of it. My understanding is that regardless whether the e-levy passed or not, Ghana government was still going to borrow. I believe it's something that has been approved by the Ghanaian budget that we passed last year. So what the e-levy has done for us is for the investor or the capital markets to understand that Ghana is on track to generate as much revenue as it wants, and that if Ghana wants to borrow, then it is not that Ghana is in distress. That is why Ghana has come to the market, because then that will sort of increase the interest that we are going to pay. So e-levy is more or less affirming the fact that Ghana is on track, and that if we are going to borrow, which is something we've already approved anyway, then the coupons or the interest on the coupons will actually reduce because the cost of borrowing will go down. So e-levy is sort of consolidating the gains, not necessarily being used as a mechanism to collateralize our loans.
Okay. Kojo, thank you so much for your time this morning.
All right. Thank you very much.
Kojo Kusi is an economist and has been helping us to appreciate some of the economic discussion within the context of the e-levy. Doc, let me bring you back on the floor before I bring Alaji. I want to understand, what are the considerations in the determination of a voting quorum? Because this has become part of the minority's argument that there was no voting quorum when the e-levy was passed. Is it those physically in the chamber or any member of parliament who walked in and signed the attendance sheet and maybe joined committee meetings and work?
You know, let me say one thing, which I think is very clear in my mind. When they voted against the budget last year, unfortunately for them, they asked for a head count. And it was so clear in everybody's mind that there were only 137 in the chamber and 0 majority. In this scenario, as it stands, it was a voice vote. Nobody had asked for a head count, and in principle, per the records, I think if per the corrections made yesterday, there's only one member of parliament that was absent. One, in principle, because and we cannot make a determination now.
Two, not one, because the Honourable Joseph wasn't around.
And then who else?
Okay, that's on the side of the majority. Yes, one member.
Yeah. So as it stands, with our case, there was no head count. So as we sit here, it's going to be difficult for somebody to prove in court that there were 138, 136, 132, whatever, because there wasn't an incident where we actually did what?
The videos are there.
We don't count with the videos, really. If that was the case, then there would not be any need for head counts. And let me just state this, that when the laws are made or when the standing orders are made, it is really a guide, okay? And in essence, to help us make way or pave way for appropriate decision making. And I really think that this is one decision that was very much on let me say, on the screens of the whole country. And it will be very difficult for any member of parliament in the minority to come out and say that this was done on their blind side. I mean, I think in principle, the whole idea of the quorum, in truthfulness, is to ensure that both members on the minority and majority are aware to some degree of the content of the bill and have debated and have not been, as it is, sidelined in the decision making.
If that's the case, then what happens to the earlier rejection of the budget by the minority when the majority side also walked out?
Well, that's why I was saying that, unfortunately for them, they had asked for what? A head count. And that went on the record. For us, it was a voice vote. without any request. And that is why we don't want to go into the what-ifs that the minority could have done in terms of the weaponry they had to use, in terms of either calling for a division, calling for a head count.
Did you have a voting quorum?
Oh, we did. And there's, I mean...
With the 137?
Wait a minute. What is funny this time round is that Osei Chimenzabuls declined to make a statement after Haruna had talked. Ideally, in closing, the minority would have closed, and then the majority closes, and then the question is put. But to make sure that we had more NDC people on the floor before they left, he begged or prayed the speaker to he declined to make a statement and asked the speaker to put the question. So in technicality, when the speaker put the question, though the NDC was on their way out, there were about 15 NDC members still in the chamber. So I mean, if we should beg the question, present, those present in the chamber when the question was put.
I have a video of the speaker yesterday saying contrary to what you have just...
No, he even added. I can state that.
If you can play
when you are even out,
Speaker Backben's video for us, so that we take a listen to what you said, what he said yesterday as you make your points.
He even added more.
A little clarification. My respected colleague, the minority chief whip, indicated that they walked out at a certain time. And you clarified the position by saying that the walkout was actually announced before the vote, the question was put. That is correct.
We seem to have a challenge with the video, but in essence, he told the deputy majority leader that the minority members were out of the chamber before he put the question.
No, he said the walkout was announced.
You don't need to debate that. Because it is Babin who presided over the proceedings. And he said the e-levy bill had been read the third time and passed.
All the rest.
Immediately he said that that bill had been passed by Parliament. So
it doesn't matter whether...
So it's presumed that all the conditions necessary for the passage of the bill had been met.
From where you sit.
From
where you sit.
No. It's a parliamentary practice. And so when Babin announced that the bill had been passed, the bill immediately left the jurisdiction of the Parliament. It was now on its way
to executive.
You could not bring back the bill unless a motion for rescission of that decision was moved and passed by the Parliament before that declaration would be rescinded and another consideration, second consideration taken. So there's a procedure, you know. So that's why I asked, even with the minority suit in court, was it really a suit to challenge, to invite the Supreme Court to review the declaration of the Speaker?
And we asked that question yesterday.
Because you see, because the Speaker has said that the bill had been read the third time and passed.
They are seeking the court to...
So they are
indicting the Speaker.
No, that's on another side.
That's what it is.
But the question really is, they are asking the court to determine whether there was a voting quorum based on the court's stance in the case of Abdullahi and
that again is forcing the Speaker to defend his position. And you didn't hear him yesterday. He said when the e-levy was passed, there was what? You didn't hear him. There was quorum. You heard him.
Yes.
That action in court is forcing the Speaker to defend the decision he took.
And he said it on record.
With your experience in Parliament and your legal strengths, was there a voting quorum?
It's not for me to determine that. I was not the Speaker. I can't determine that. What I know is the practice in Parliament. And the practice in Parliament, as I have seen, for my 15 years in Parliament, no Speaker has ever invoked the quorum. Somebody has to invoke the quorum.
And nobody was there too.
And nobody invoked the quorum.
They missed the
And immediately, in my years in Parliament, if the quorum is not invoked and decisions are taken, that decisions will be deemed to have been regularly taken. And there are many examples. You even told me some countless examples. And no one has ever, you see, because it will lead to absurdity.
And let's even
sometimes, and it's not only in Ghana. I've gone to the Kenyan Parliament. I've gone to the British House of Commons. I've gone to the Singapore Parliament. It's not only in Ghana. Sometimes
by just
sometimes 5, 10, 20 people are in the chamber because people are working.
Yeah.
People have other businesses to attend to, and they take decisions.
Very crucial.
So it's not only Ghana. I've been to many parliaments.
So if I get you right, the fact that there was no member of the minority to raise an objection...
not a member. Even the...
Or any member of parliament.
Any member of parliament. So if the majority were there, and they would raise it because after all, they were there to do government business. But if a member of parliament from the majority side had accidentally...
And you know, some came in to pick their belongings.
Accidentally say, oh, Mr. Speaker, because you had also read Justice Abdullah's case. But they will never do that because...
Once you get in, you are counted, you are...
No, they will not do that because, you see, the majority chief would have gone around and said that nobody should raise a matter of quorum in this house. But you won't see that. It's off camera, so you don't see it. Warning the, hey, Adumako, we know that for you. You can get up and do anything. We don't, this one, so if we do that, hey, you'll be sanctioned by the party. So they warn everybody, including my friend Katie Hammond. Warn everybody. So no, the majority side will never get up. And I'm telling you, if the majority side, any of them had gotten up to raise...
Castrated.
The government would have had a different change.
What would you say to those who are of the view that the passage of the bill and even the putting of the question when there was supposedly no voting quorum was an indictment or an illegality, considering the position of the Supreme Court in Justice Abdullah and
oh, that's a position. I've already explained.
So I want to pick your thoughts on that.
My thoughts are quite clear on this matter. I said I have worked in Parliament. I worked on the Companies Act from beginning to end, and I know how many people were in Parliament at any given time when we were doing the Companies Act. And the Companies Act is being used by all companies and lawyers. It's used by the Registrar General's Department today for the purposes of registering companies. Companies are changing their name to PLLC, and public liability company and private companies, liability companies. These were all in the Act, and I know the number of people who were involved in this passage. But I'm just saying that the going to court is good. I'm not saying it's not good. It's good. I'm just saying that the chances of success is slim. But I'm not saying it's bad. It's good. It's good because it's going to help our parliamentary democracy. This is Abdullah's case. We disagree with the decision of the court, but it's good. Why? Because MPP is not going to stay in power forever. So what the court has said in Justice Abdullah's case will also apply to future governments. Okay? So you don't quarrel over that. It improves the parliamentary jurisprudence. Okay? The science of how parliament works. It improves that. So you can now refer, just like the minority is now referring to the Justice Abdullah's case in court. So if this decision is also taken and considered by the Supreme Court, it becomes part of the parliamentary jurisprudence. So it's good.
I ask your colleague what's 1041 means when it comes to the word present. Is it those in the chamber at the time the question was being thrown, or those who have signed and maybe they are within the premises of Parliament engaged in other parliamentary activities?
I have a view, and it's different from the position of the Speaker. I have a view that at least half of the members of all members of Parliament present and voting, and that we should read that phrase together, present and voting. That at that time that decision is to be taken, there should be at least half of members of Parliament in the House who are qualified to vote. Okay, so present and voting. Okay, so if you are not a member of parliament, you can't vote. So you can't be counted as half. So that's why the speaker has no original vote in this matter. Okay, so and they must be present on the floor of the house. They must be present. It's at that time because we don't have
electronic
voting and proxy voting. We don't have. So present in the chamber for the purposes of voting. That's my view of what the provision requires. But the speaker has extended it. So mine is a strict, narrow interpretation of that provision. But the speaker has given it an expansive interpretation. And they're saying that present doesn't mean within the chamber. It means if we are aware that you are sitting in your office and you have signed the register that you are present, we will count you as present.
Look, very finally on this issue, Dr. Ini again said the Abdullahi law is a bad one because it's going to undermine government business in future because of this voting quorum and non-voting quorum issue. And you being in government, is that a cause for worry for you?
I think that, in all honesty, we need to grow beyond this, go beyond this, mature a little bit, and come to terms with the fact that we can't always stall government business because of quorum. That key people who should be present when some government businesses are being done. For instance, today, we're going to lay out a business for next week. And it is crucial that we make sure that the people who are involved are there to add or subtract. And that is what matters. And I think we're very matured adults, and we should behave as such. And we need to stop squabbling and worrying about the petty things. As some friends of mine say, Ghanaians major in the minor things, and what we need to do, I think, is that we need to up our game in our arguments and be more thorough and be more elaborate so that people can better understand us and make the decisions for themselves. I would beg minority to a large extent to really come out and be truthful about the concessions that the MPP government made through all of this. Because we were at 1.75, we came to 1.5. That is something that is an achievement. You know, there's so many things that I must commend the NDC for, or the opposition for. And they are not patting themselves on the back for these monumental achievements. So I really think that maybe I have to do the homework for them. Because I can tell them on authority that what the bill was on November 31st or January 4th, December 4th, is a totally different bill today. And I assure Ghanaians that this one has been more simplified. There's more clarity in the bill. And what I even love is the fact that you can pay governmental bills without being charged this fee, which is one of the misunderstood things. I mean, if I go to DVLA, if I go to Lands and Forestry, if I go to any government institution which is on the platform as noted as governmental institution, I will not be billed for doing the transaction with government. And these are concessions that came out of the long and arduous road leading up to the e-levy. And I really think that the future will judge us and come to that conclusion that truthfully, this 3 months of, their stance has really yielded some positives. And in as such, I think we have one of the best bills out of all these, cajoling and manhandling and things, and in a such,
I disagree vehemently with you.
In a such,
you see, my position on the conduct of the minority subsequent or immediately before the passage of the bill is different from my position on the bill. I share entirely the position of the minority. The bill defies all principles of taxation.
But our Ghanaian
all
community
principles
is very different.
All principles of taxation, because you don't derive any value. Your money is not going to work, and so you will pay tax. Nothing. It's just like taking money from your pocket. You are contributing. I mean, so Lala Sulala, government is not doing Lala Sulala, and then we are contributing. Now the difficulty is that government has so mismanaged our resources in such a way that we cannot even trust that this Lala Sulala that government is doing, it will manage it well. That's the problem. So that's why I agree with you that, well, so there are some concessions that have been made that immediately they collect them and they pay it in the consolidated fund. Then we track its utilization,
Very
the
important.
minority leader. Because this is not taxation. It's not. It's not taxation. So that is why, you see, it's just like you have your money in the bank. If you issue a check, you don't pay tax. So why should you have your money in an electronic bank, which is called a wallet? And when you are withdrawing the money, you pay. So you see, it's discriminatory. It's discriminatory against people who are going to use the traditional banks. Tax is not supposed to discriminate.
Is it because the service you are using?
That's the service. So
government has invested in
government has not invested in any tax.
In interoperability.
No, it does not. We are paying the 1% to mobile phone providers because they have created that platform. And government says, I create the enabling environment for you to even have created that platform. So government charges them tax for the money that we pay to them. Government taxes that money. That's the electronic service tax. It's different. Nobody quarrels with that. So if they make $100 million from providing that service, government taxes that 100 million. We have no quarrels with that. We're saying that me and you, you decide to pay me, and I say, okay, I don't want to be paid through the banks. I want you, every month when you pay me, just transfer the money to my electronic. I've already paid income tax. Immediately that hits my electronic wallet, anytime I'm transferring that money, I have to pay tax on it again. So you see double taxation.
No, but
you understand? So my opposition to the tax is different from what happened. I'm just saying that the minority did exceedingly well.
They've done well
in exposing it. And I just said that they should have registered it in the votes and proceedings. Now look, this tax, we are so opposed to it that on the day, that is on Tuesday, when the vote against it goes into the records.
Even it get passed.
Yes, but that's how we end debate. That's how we end debate. Because I am of the school of thought which believes that Parliament doesn't introduce policy. Policy is the preserve. We don't initiate policy. It's the preserve of the executive. And when they come, the majority will all debate the policy. The minority's duty is to expose the inadequacies of the policy, the unintended consequences the policy will visit on people, and suggest improvements to the policy. Because there are certain values, certain principles that cut across the minority and the majority, and that is the development of this country, the welfare of the people of this country. So in all our discussions, we are seeking to ensure that the welfare of the people of this country is met.
Yeah.
Okay, they cut across. So we contribute. And when you do so, and government says, I mean, chinchina, you say, unless I pass the e-levy, nothing will work. So you say, okay, me, I'm voting against it. My conscience tells me that the e-levy is not good. You vote against it. If they pass it, they then live with the consequences. You understand? They live with the consequences. If many Ghanaians are not suffering because they have passed the e-levy, they have the decision to be made in 2024. That's how politics. That's how we run
the
it.
The reverse is also possible.
The reverse is also possible. if after passing it, Ghanaians think that we're opposing these things for no purpose because it has brought us a lot of development. Then they might, extend the life of the government because the policy
has worked.
So that's why I'm saying you live with the consequences. That's how politics is done.
Well, let's move on to our next subject of the day, because the minority, of course, Parliament, on Wednesday received the President where he delivered the State of the Nation address, and that has taken center stage in public discussion since the presentation of the statement. And the Daily Graphic captured it as President Akufo-Addo has called on all Ghanaians to pull and push together to overcome the economic challenges facing the country. And one of the quotes, he said, I quote, "There are many problems that we have to overcome to get back to where we ought to be. I need your support. No president, no parliament, no government can undertake this task by themselves all. And we need to push all Ghanaians to pull and push together." And he said the road to recovery from the economic challenges will be hard and long, but the job could be done with the support of all. Let me bring in Honorable Yusuf Seni on this one. The State of the Nation address, of course, you've seen many in your long years in Parliament. Was it a true reflection of the states?
Well, you got me here on that day, also. You got me on that. You got me here because I had been invited by the Mr. Speaker to be his guest for the presentation of the State of the Nation address. So I was in Parliament. Now I listened to the Speaker. I listened to the President. Yes, I will consider the statement, the State of the Nation address was quite comprehensive. But it was an exercise in self-adulation. He was praising himself throughout. And he was talking about mundane things that we already know. There was nothing critical. It didn't give us assurance. There was nothing reassuring. It didn't give us hope. Even my good friend here and brother, Honorable Dr. Kisi Adumaku Kisi, I didn't see his side applauding the president. It was so mundane. Like he was reading from the script.
Which side were you seated?
I was sitting up there. I was sitting
on our side, or
no, on the other side.
Directly facing your side.
Directly facing your side.
You didn't see us clapping.
No, I didn't see you clapping. You see, it was so. It was.
Like, we can't clap.
But they were cheering. The
you got up and sang Happy Birthday. Who says that they sing Happy Birthday in Parliament? Now, so. You could just so flat. The statement was so flat, and then it was riddled with untruths. You know, so many untruths. Then the president,
can you cite any of the untruths you are
Tell me. The MPP government has been in power for 5 years. Out of the 5 years, two years have been ravaged by COVID. 2 years, 2 complete years. The first year, they had to present a stopgap budget. So they were still assessing things. So that's left with 2 years. 2 years. The president says we have done 10,885 kilometers of roads. I don't know how he did the calculation. 2007, MPP was still trying to get its act together. 2017. They are just coming to office. 2019 December, we had COVID. The first COVID case hit Ghana in 2020 January. Then we started raiding the stabilization fund. We started raiding the Bank of Ghana. We took 20 billion Ghana cedis from the Bank of Ghana.
You're saying raid?
Yes. We have said that we won't borrow.
We had lives to
we have said that we won't borrow from the Bank of Ghana.
We have lied.
I'm saying that we have said that we won't borrow from the Bank of Ghana.
But around the world, we've seen government breaking rules just to mitigate the impact of COVID on lives and livelihoods.
They even underestimate, even underdeclared the money we receive.
Have you seen that sign?
You haven't seen.
The president.
You still haven't seen.
You see,
open your eyes.
We even underdeclared how much we receive from the World Bank. You know, They gave us 450 million. We said 200 something.
No, it's
430.
30.
It is in tranches.
Okay, so you forgot of one of the tranches.
It is in tranches.
So you see, you took $1 billion from the World Bank. $1 billion.
I'll bring you.
Okay, the time is almost
and then all this you said you were saving lives and cares.
Very important.
COVID alleviation, what the
very important.
Program.
They rolled out 750 million cedis to mitigate the impact of COVID on SMEs.
Yeah, so
free cooked meal.
I agree with you. I'm not arguing on that. I'm saying that the road minister even publicly declared
you're on TV, so talk very well. Talk very well.
The road minister had publicly declared that they were not delivering because of COVID. You didn't hear him.
No, but
the president comes to say,
Ghana?
Oh, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about. You see, we are not talking about any country. I'm talking about the State of the Nation address presented by His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo.
Carry on.
Then Nana Akufo-Addo comes to tell us that, then he does like this. You didn't see it.
No, it's like this. That's a sign.
Is that you didn't see?
Open your eyes.
You didn't see. And it cannot be true. Because if you match,
so two words. Let me add my thing.
Don't worry, I'll give you the time.
If you match the resources that was made available to the Ministry of Roads and Highways for infrastructure development from 2017 to 2021 and match it to the 10,000 kilometers roads, you will see that you cannot concern.
There was clarity. There was clarity yesterday. The ministry issued a statement, and I want to share some details with you. We said in an answer to a question posed by the Honorable Eric Efu, the Minister of Roads and Highways stated on February 15 in Parliament that a total of 4,263 kilometers had been constructed or maintained on the paved and unpaved roads between January 2017 and May 2021. This did not take into account the ongoing road activities that had not been completed by the end of May 2021. This is the statement of the ministry.
I'm saying that I have the performance review of the ministry.
This line I want to put to you. He said, as at the end of February 2022, a total of 1,702 kilometers of construction and maintenance activities which were undertaken on paved roads and 4,910 kilometers of works on paved roads had been completed. So from May 2021 to now, he's telling us that this kilometer of roads have been constructed or maintained.
Oh, May 2021 of what? 2021?
To now, to the address of the president.
Is a statement of the performance of the Ministry of Roads and Highways from 2017 to end 2021.
He said that did not capture.
Oh, my brother, it's a document. You can't use oral evidence to contradict a document of your ministry. It's just like the Minister of Agriculture said that the data emanating from his ministry was wrong. You can't do that. You don't run a country like that. You contradict the documents emanating from your ministry, the technocrats compiling the document, then you say, no, I don't agree. Then it's better to sack all the directors and chief director of the ministry, and then you be your everything in the ministry. Because they are civil servants, they are working, and they compile the documents for you, and they make them available. How can you say that when you know that the resources that were given to the Ministry of Roads and Highways cannot do the work that you have done? What kind of... I mean, let me read. I've heard some people say that, the president did not say construction, but it includes work done. My brother, look at the number of roads they constructed. And let me tell you, the asphalt overlay for the whole 2017 to 2021, asphalt overlay, they did 1,483.39 kilometers. Asphalt overlay. Construction. Look at construction. They did only 68 kilometers of road. Construction.
That's according to
the Ministry of Roads and Highways. Construction.
Their scorecard.
68 kilometers.
So you are affirming the data is sharing.
When they did graveling and re-graveling, they did 955.82 kilometers. Partial reconstruction, they did 139.41. Reconstruction, not partial, total reconstruction, they did only 90 kilometers. Rehabilitation of roads, they did 837.27. Resealing of roads, so the road has deteriorated, you want to come and reseal it, not asphalt, reseal it. They did only 86.20. Sport improvement, so pothole patching, they did 139.57. Upgrading of the roads, they did 482.83. Grand total. So the minister, I'll even give you grand total by ministry, by departments. The grand total.
No, we don't have much.
I'll give you grand total of 4,263.37. Out of this, Department of Feeder Roads did 866.03. Department of Urban Roads did 2,835.96. Ghana Highway Authority did 561. This is the minister. And I can give you, if you want, the regional breakdown.
So in summary, I have the document here. In summary, you're saying what?
I said that, you see, again, a fundamental flaw of what the president did. You know, you see, because he's president, and I respect my president, I won't say he's telling lies. It's a factual untruth. Factual inaccuracy. Let me tell you something. In the past Sona addresses presented by the presidents before him, every president in presenting construction the road sector mentioned the road. Go and look at Growlins, look at Kufo, look at Atamils, look at John Drama even elevated it to evidence-based.
Is it because you were once a minister of roads and highways?
I say that I want to go and see the 1,000, 10,000 kilometers.
I'll come back to you.
Whether it is
Doc, prepare your defense. Let's bring in Frederick Ejako-Idro, who is the Dean of Studies and Research, Institute of Local Government Studies, for a brief remark on the Sona. So prepare your remarks. I know you have a lot to say to what the Honorable Fuseni had just said. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Odro.
Good morning.
What do you make of the State of the Nation address, the areas that the statement touched, and the concerns being raised specifically on the issue of the roads, the number of kilometers that the president mentioned, and the fact that some of the view that it's not a true reflection as far as the road infrastructure is concerned?
Yes, it brings about two key challenges I think we have in our government. The first one is to do with the State of the Nation address itself. This is a borrowed government practice from particularly the United States of America that was taken, but we've not adapted it to suit our own situation. For starters, you look at the State of the Nation, there is no format or established format as to how it should be. So over the years, each president will come and decide as to what they want to say. So I think we must develop a system or a convention. I'm not asking for legislation. That we can have a format as to what a president should present to us, so that we can have a true State of the Nation address. And that was not particular to this president, but over the years from 1993.
Mr. Drew, I'm not cutting you. I'm not cutting you, but if I get your point, it means we should have key thematic areas that every president should deliver the address on.
Not just thematic areas, but we can go beyond thematic areas. We must know the pluses and the minuses. Because otherwise, a president will come and tell us only about the good things that have happened, and we can't fault him for as long as they are meeting the constitutional requirement of addressing the nation. So if you want to have a true State of the Nation, you must establish a system that can project the true picture, whether it is good, whether it is bad. Then the second point that I have, which is leading to this kind of argument about the length, or I don't know about the calculation of the roads that have been constructed or not, is to do with the fact that we don't have established state institutions to take account of our state property. Elsewhere in other jurisdictions, I would have expected the Ghana Statistical Service to be able to tell us, indeed, this is the number of roads or the length of roads we have in this country. This is the state of that road, not just for roads. They can talk to us about even schools, the number of schools we have in the country, the number of the type of furniture available in those schools. All of these state property should be accounted for as established institutions, so that we can take the policies out of it.
I thought the Ghana Living Standard Survey captured all that you are talking about.
Not quite. I mean, I would have expected that the Ghana Statistical Service would have provided this kind of data for us. How many hospitals do we have? How many hospital beds do we have? All these information should be there so that it is not for a government to say we have this or we have that, I've done this or I've done that. If we can begin to resource state institutions, particularly the Statistical Service, to be updating their records when things are not good, they can tell us. I mean, it will help us in our developmental agenda. But now we have opened this whole thing up for political interpretation. So it's a worry. So that is my stance as to when we want to talk about whether it is true what the president said or whether it is not true. Now we are having to receive further information from the Ministry of Roads as to what they mean by what constitutes construction and what constitutes new rules and all that. We needn't go there if we have institutions that would actually tell us this, and these are institutions that will be apolitical, but they will be national institutions to tell us this, and we take their word for it.
In this particular address and the previous one, where COVID-19 was ravaging the country, not just the country, but the world, we had President Akufo-Addo giving a picture of how it has impacted the Ghanaian economy, lives and livelihoods, and what his government is doing to mitigate the impact on the citizenry. In this particular address, we had him admitting that we are in a very difficult time. And I saw that to be a generalization of all the specifics that you are suggesting that he should have highlighted.
Well, I mean, I can understand the president admitting to the difficulties, but yet trying not to create a panic situation to say, yes, we have some difficulty, we can override it and all that. I'm even happy some steps that government is taking or have said they were going to take to mitigate the situation we find ourselves. However, I don't think it is enough to state the problem, but we also need to go further, state what precisely government is going to do to overcome the challenge. Yes, we've heard about a 50% pay cut. We've heard about the fact that President is saying, or this was said particularly by the finance minister, that they are no longer going to import new vehicles and all other activities. But then there are some key things we need to talk about. Today we are talking about e-levy, and the e-levy is supposed to be breaking a lot more money. People are talking about the need to protect the e-levy funds that will be generated. But why are we not talking about protecting all other funds that accrue to the state, and the treasury is going to take to protect all those things? I believe there is a lot more to be done. But I'm happy the president has admitted to the challenge, and I expect that the executive will lead the way in showing the whole country that we are cutting on expenditure. And it will be demonstrable to everybody to see that indeed now we are not seeing too much convoys, we are not seeing too much P8. People in executive positions are showing the way. Then it will be easier for the rest of us to also follow suit and support the government. After all, we have to do this for ourselves as a country. Now we see nobody is going to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves.
Frederick, thank you so much for your time. Frederick Oduro-Ijako is a local governance analyst and has been helping us to appreciate the State of the Nation address. Let's pick your final thoughts. You want to take leave of us. The Honorable Inisuf Seni said a lot regarding the Sona and the roads issue.
Let him go so that I can complete.
there's one key thing I need to correct, the Dean, Frederick. I beg of you. There's this perception that Ghanaians have that I really, it worries my heart. Let me be very clear. The parliamentarians who run some businesses or were in businesses where they had access to these V8s that people talk about. So I really think that let's not major in the minors, like I always say. Some parliamentarians had 3 V8s, even more, before coming into Parliament. So the real deal isn't what we drive. I beg to differ on that, and I'm begging Ghanaians that let's be cautious of that. The big businessmen who are now parliamentarians, and I always cite this. We know what Despite does in this country, in terms of his flamboyant things that he does. So if Despite should become a parliamentarian, are we going to judge him as Despite, or we're going to judge him that he's a government appointee or a government official, so he shouldn't necessarily drink?
Does that take away the fact that not all parliamentarians, I mean, are in the position you
What I'm saying is it's unfortunate that we always, tend to think that, and let me add one key thing. When they see the entourage, the parliamentarians follow the president sometimes to programs. If there are 10 parliamentarians in one V8, it's not possible. You can't fit. And in as such, sometimes people join from other programs to commensurate with the president or with the chiefs at a particular event. So it's unfortunate that we look at these things in the wrong way. So I'm only pleading, whether in NDC time or in MPP time, that we rather focus on accountability. And accountability is not the V8 that a member of parliament is driving, really. We'll be making a big mistake. And more importantly, these are billed to their salaries. So it's not necessarily a state funded, car, because you and I know that we are billed for it. So I'm only pleading that the largesse that we assume that parliamentarians have are not necessarily.
Let's come back to the conversation. He said a lot regarding the roads conversation,
yes,
and I'm here to pick.
His points are spot on. I really think that the government institutions should run so well that we don't look up to the president one day to tell us what government institutions are doing. And that has been my stand, that all the time it's important that government institutions run well. And when we have institutions that run well, and this is what President Obama, former President Obama said when he came to Ghana. Of all the things President Obama could have said, that was the one thing he left with us, that we should make sure that our institutions run well. And if our institutions run well, if we have a very bad performing president and the institutions are robust, firm, and working hard, his worst performance will still put the country at a very good position. So what it means is that Ministry of Health should have very good people working there. Agriculture should have very good people there. To the extent that if you have the worst performing Minister of Agric, even because of the rudimentary nature, rigid nature of the ministry, his worst performance will not put the country at risk. And this is what I think we should be preaching everywhere we go, so that we make sure that the chief directors in this country are very seasoned, they know their thing, and they can coach whichever minister is appointed to do their work.
The Honorable Fuseni, I'm not cutting you, said the figure quoted by the president is inaccurate because the minister came to Parliament, and in fact, if you look at the performance document for the entire ministry for 2021, it said it had constructed and maintained 4,263 kilometers of road, and yet the president comes to tell us more than 10,000. And now the ministry issues a statement to say the document for 2021 did not capture from May 2021 till the time the president was delivering the speech.
At this point, in all fairness and in all honesty, I think we'll stick with what the minister came to Parliament to do. I think that's the most appropriate. That has been verified. In an accounting process, we'll say this is what has been verified. And I really think that you know, the fuss about it is not very, very important. What is important is that the president admits that we've worked on roads, and it's visible. And the last of which was the Tamale interchange, which we talked about. And I say that I'm always for roads because a lot of people use the roads and they can see. And as we talk right now, for instance, from Insawam to Pediase, you know, it's so clear when you use the dual carriage. It's so clear. Nobody has to convince you that something has been done about our roads. When you look at the likes of the continuity, Pokwase interchange, a governmental program. And you know, I think we need to mature as a country. And those developmental projects that have been continued and worked on, we should give a plus to both governments. I mean, I remember the likes of the late President Atta Mills when he called Kufuor for the N1. It was beautiful. We need to encourage that. Let's be honest. I mean, I remember the speaker said, if there's no granddaughter, there's no grandfather. You know, the likes of that. Yeah, you can only be a grandfather if you have a granddaughter. And you can only have a grandfather because you have, you know, So these things, in relation to, for instance, the oil fields, which the NDC always makes noise about, that is what the speaker agreed that in principle, the NPP set the pace. The NDC came and continued, and that is the beauty of governance, and we need to come to terms with these things. I mean, the Awoshi Pokwase highway was set up at some point by Kufuor so many years back. Then Atta Mills came and then concluded. It's beautiful. There are many such roads like the Kanishi to Accra, the overhead thing. I mean, beautiful overpass, beautiful. One government started, another has come to continue. Let's come to terms with these things, because to do even a KVIP, the number of signatures that has to go into it, the bureaucracy, makes it difficult for you to do so much in a short time. So the key thing here, and I would commend the professor or dean for making it clear that one thing, governmental institutions have to work well, and they need to come out with the facts and figures more so than they do now. And when we make reference to their websites, it should be updated. You know, we claim we don't have jobs in this country, yet there are many opportunities to create jobs for our youth, if only we'll give the youth a chance. And I really think that in the spirit of togetherness, Ghanaians have been taxed by the president to get on board, you know, put your shoulders to the wheel so that we can move our country forward. In bad times, we need leadership, and I think the president has demonstrated that he's a firm, solid man, and I think we couldn't have had a better president than Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, considering the challenges of the COVID-19, considering the challenges of the Russian-Ukraine war, considering all the challenges in the world. And we are not insulated. We are not insulated from all these challenges. Fuel prices are going up everywhere in the world. The Americans are crying, the British are crying, the Ukrainians are crying everywhere in the world. The opposition party should come to terms with that. They should open their eyes and accept that one key thing, that COVID, regardless of how many it killed in this country, has impacted us. When the travel industry was down, hotel industry was down. Caterers at hotels were suffering. People washing curtains for hotels were suffering. Some were laid off. These are real facts. You can't deny it. It impacted all of us. But one thing holds. The president said it so crisp. As for those lives, we can't bring them back. But the economy, we can do something about. And my honorable member here knows that when and if a family member is sick, no matter the amount of money you have, you put it on the table to save that life, so that later on you worry about your tea and coffee. And that is what the situation the president was in, and that is why he did everything to save Ghanaian lives. He put everything on the table to save Ghanaian lives. So that today we can now come and talk about the economy, the interest rates, the GDP, the tax ratio.
You take leave of us in a minute, but I want to pick his response. And just to correct, before you come in, the dean who helped us, Mr. Jakodro, said that the cutting of wastage, he was referring to the executive and not the MPs and the cars they are driving.
Listen, there's a misconception there. The executives monetary aspect, which a lot of people have mistakenly not paid attention to. Ghana Ambulance Service is over there.
Yes.
So many governmental flagship programs, unfortunately, and let me say this, personally, I think that ambulance service should be under Ministry of Health, so that the government machinery can be excused of that. I think that NAPCO and the rest can be under labor and all these other things, so that we can be excused. And when that is done, you'd realize that in truthful and in principle, the government wage bill or the government machinery will be reduced.
But you don't know why they have put NAPCO, Maslok, and others under the presidency.
So that is why I'm saying that.
Because there's no supervisory authority.
I thought I could land. Can I land?
It's wastage.
Hello.
So when the president is approving payment when the minister comes to Parliament to say the office of presidency is this amount of money, and NAPCO is there, and Maslok is there, and so you will see that they will waste money.
I'll bring you in.
They put people there
he wants to wrap up. I'll bring you in.
So that's my key point, that
Adogo is going away. So
the government machinery, as it stands, is the executive monies they are thinking is not money in the president's pocket. It is to run these programs, which I really think that eventually these programs will come. I mean, like IPEP, which was being managed by Howard Kumsin, all these things that were lumped and pair the president listening to the need for a reduction in his number of ministries. I mean, this is what led to this. So I really think that can be looked at again, and hopefully consultative work is going on to see how best to, realign them with the appropriate institutions. And I think when that is done, the apparent, the word you use,
wastage.
No. Apparent increase in the executive branch's money will be reduced. And I think these are the realities. And I think that Ghana will be well served. And in as much as times are hard, which the president stated, I would beg Ghanaians that let's all, be in prayer for Ghana. And before we conclude, my heart and thanks to the Ghana Black Stars. They've made us proud. I'm happy to be Ghanaian, even more happy now to wear their jerseys. And I would commend them and continue to bless them to sail higher heights. And I hope that through his sponsorship, I'll be in Qatar to watch the World Cup. Hello?
He is being paid. I'm not working. I don't work.
A farmer.
I'm ex-official.
A farmer.
Yes,
you're a farmer.
So
farming.
I'm not
farming
under
the new agricultural industry.
I'm a commercial farmer. I'm not under planting for food and jobs. What I'm saying is that we agree with you. So that there's hardship. So that's why everybody's saying that if there's hardship, president should cut waste. So in the midst of the hardship, president promised us 111 hospitals, district hospitals, Agenda 111. Agenda 111, and he said he was going to do it in
18 months.
In 18 months. He didn't know that there was hardship. He didn't know that he can come to Parliament and admit that it was overly ambitious. Was he not informed? Did he not know the size of the kitty? Did he not know?
So what are you insinuating?
I'm insinuating that the president, you see, you can't say one thing and mean the other. I mean, we expect the president to be forthcoming with us and not to be candid with the truth. The truth is that...
Is he candid with the truth?
It's candid with
he
the
said
truth.
Land issues.
What land issues?
Have worried.
So you didn't know that. You didn't know that land issues.
The state of
the president did not know that land issues. So on what basis on what basis, Adumaku, you are a professional doctor? On what basis did the president say that he will complete the project in 18 months?
No. Listen, that was...
No, what was it?
But honorable, you can make your arrangements, and once you begin with
first of all, a project implementation has a project flow chart.
But he has come
when you do a project, it must have a project flow chart. When you intend to complete land acquisition, when you intend to move contractors to site, when the contractors will complete their foundational work, when the contractors will begin putting it up to the point where they will hand over to you.
He has come to admit publicly that unfortunately...
Was it because they didn't have money to pay the contractors?
Has become a huge...
There's a question if you want to resume.
I mean, I'm not asking you a question.
Is it because there's no money?
I'm not asking you a question. What I said is that, as a president, yes, you come to us and tell us, yes, there are difficulties, there are challenges. I mean, that's why I said the state of the nation did not have hope, no assurance. Because there are difficulties. My brother, how much do you buy into your car? How much petrol do you buy into your car? Yes. And do you feel comfortable driving it? No, I no longer enjoy my car.
Really?
Because anytime I sit in the car I'm looking at the gauge.
Oh.
Anytime.
And are you of all people?
Yes.
Oh. A farmer like yourself.
That is the extent to which the suffering has impacted me.
But the global factors come also into play. Yeah. We are seeing Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
I'm not talking about invasion. America has just released 1 million barrels of oil into the market and it's going to release it for close to 2 years.
But that's just now.
Yes, just now. So there must be mitigating impacts. That's what countries plan. We fail to plan. So the bulk oil storage, what was it doing? Why did you build the tanks?
Have we invested enough? Have you invested
enough? Am I the president of the country? The president did not know that unforeseen consequences will arrive? Or you're just interested in spending our money? How can you put one chair in the car and allow 2 soldiers to guard the chair to Tamale and pay them? That's the problem. So tell me, what are you doing to lessen my burden? That's the problem. That's my problem. The Kenke now no longer sells at 1 cedi. So your NAPCO guys that you are paying 700 or 900, can they survive a month? Just do the calculation. So what are you doing to lessen? And then you know that the general unemployment is that even that NAPCO guy you give 900 is taking care of people. You know that. You know that. Your national service, how much do you pay them? 500. And when you calculate how much...
After taxes.
Yeah, after taxes. I mean, nobody, everybody would receive after taxes. And when you calculate how much they pay for transportation, can it take them to the end of the month?
Honorable, you are creating the impression, in as much as we admit there is challenge, but I feel you are creating the impression that the global factors are not playing or having a toll on the Ghanaian economy, and that has also led to some of the challenges the country is facing.
I have not said that.
Open your eyes. Open.
I opened my eyes and I saw no road. I have not said that. What I'm simply saying is that we elect leaders to lead. We don't elect leaders to come and mourn more than us.
Oh.
If you know you can't lead, you give way.
When he talks about reality, he's mourning.
You give way for people who are competent to come and lead.
What are you suggesting?
Every person, every country faces difficulties. But the impact of the difficulties on individual countries differ. And largely because of leadership.
And Ghana has commended for how we managed the COVID-19 and mitigated the impact.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
And then why?
I've heard that. And I also know that in managing the COVID, we spend more than 35 billion.
To save lives.
And other countries do not spend that. And
the president said 17 billion.
It's not, that's why I say he's candid with the truth. I just tell you that even Bank of Ghana alone, we took 20 billion. We took $1 billion from the World Bank. Oh, you have forgotten about
Bank of Ghana, 10 billion.
20! We took 10 billion, went back for 10 billion again. We went and raided our COVID, our stabilization fund.
Why are you doing a raid?
We took everything. We took everything away from it.
Why use the
raid? The raid is that
choice of words.
The raid is
honorable.
not a raid. In accounting, when you go and clear the account, we say you have raided the account. In accounting,
you've emptied the account.
So you emptied the sterilization. Up now, you've not replenished.
To save lives and livelihood.
Okay.
And lives
World Bank, you went to World Bank and took 430.
Lives that cannot be replaced.
You understand? So what I'm saying that the cost of Guterres said, and you have forgotten what Guterres said. Leaders of countries must not take advantage of the COVID to plunder the resources of their country. You forgot them?
We did our best.
You forgot them? So people already knew that people in authority might take advantage of the COVID to plunder the resources.
And I'm pointing to you that we saw a lot of intervention during the COVID-19. When the Ghanaian economy grew 0.4%, when other economies in the sub-region were recording negative growth. And that's an indication of measures.
Which other economies were you talking about?
In Africa, we've had economies.
Africa?
The Nigerian economy was in recession.
Ours was not in recession. Ours was not in recession.
0.4%.
Is it recession? It's a recession.
No.
So no, when you're going at 7 point something and you go to 0.4, it's not a recession. A recession is when there's a negative growth. Up the point that you are, you grow negatively.
But
so even if you are at 7 and you grow at 6,
comparatively, when countries are growing in the negatives and you are growing in the positive.
I thought that you were talking about recession.
Despite the impact of COVID-19.
But we had been told time and again before COVID that our economy was robust. I remember I contributed in Parliament. My last contribution, go and look at it. The minister himself said that COVID had exposed the vulnerabilities. He used the word, I didn't use it. So it means that our economy had vulnerabilities.
Absolutely.
And those vulnerabilities were only exposed by COVID. But we had always told him that economy was vulnerable. That the things that we were doing could not make our economy robust. We told him. I agree. So, you see, so
you mean the challenges preceded COVID-19?
But you don't know why the president delayed in presenting his State of the Nation address. He was struggling with the flatness of the address. He knew that the address was flat, so he was looking to see whether you could pass the e-levy, and he was praying that Black Star wins, and then he timed his birthday to coincide with the opening of the interchange. And so when he opened them, he had now the confidence to come and tell us our State of the Nation, so that we wouldn't see the flatness. But we have seen through it. It's so flat.
You've seen through it?
Yeah, it's so flat. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Fine English.
Well, unfortunately, Honorable Adomako cannot make his submission because he has removed the mic. He's in a hurry to go to Parliament. I wanted to give you a minute.
You should go and do transact business for us.
Very late. So
you should go and transact business.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming to help us with today's discussion. Honorable, you have something to close the program with?
Well, I'm just saying that, first of all, again, let me state that I'm so convinced that this our hung parliament is doing wonderfully well. And the minority is doing their best. But in all things that we are doing as a people, I mean, Ghanaians invested so much or reposed so much confidence in the hung parliament that it must meet the legitimate expectation of the people of this country. That we expect, you see, because in the past parliaments, whether it was NDC or MPP, because of the absolute numbers, there was some level of impunity. So when we got this parliament, we thought, myself inclusive, that the legs or the feet of government will be held to the fire of accountability. If we are not seeing that, and some events...
Is that not happening?
Some events do not give us the confidence that that is happening full stream. It's happening, but there is more room for improvement.
So exactly in your closing remark, what will you be telling the minority based on the call you are making right now?
Look, you see, first, this country is in the doldrums. I mean, we are deep in the gutter. We need to come out. And if we need to come out, we need to initiate prudent policies. So the minority must critique government policy and ensure that they help us come out of the deep hole. In doing so, they must not be compromises. If they have
compromises.
I'm just saying, if government policy has to change to be able to get us out, because we are in this together. I sometimes wonder what will happen.
When you say if government has to change, then the conversation about the claim by this government that they are better managers of the economy also comes in play.
Cannot be true. Cannot be true.
Because really the data speaks to that. If you look at averagely, the economy grew 4.02% under former President John Mahama. In the first term of this government, averagely the economy grew 6.8%. And if really the numbers are anything to go by, then they have done better.
I'm saying that as a journalist and a student of politics, because what you are saying is politics, you must not be looking at average numbers. You must be looking at the happiness index. Governments rule because they want their citizens to be happy. Since this government came into power till date, how has been the poverty scale? Have people come out of poverty or have they gone back into poverty? That's what you use to assess government. And not the discrete figures of 6 point, no. Because you see, there are many things that go into determining growth. For instance, the extractive sector. If we're extracting oil and then gold, diamonds, and exporting everything, it will go into growth. But tell me, how does it reduce poverty? How does it?
The proceeds can be invested.
Nowhere. Which process? The arrangements, the agreements that we enter into with investors do not bring the process. The government is not even struggling to let them repatriate their dollars. Not so. So you look at the happiness index. And I'm saying that today, as we speak, the gap between the rich and the poor has widened.
Okay.
So you see, that's what you use to assess the performance of government.
Honorable, thank you so much. That's all time will permit us. Honorable Yunus of Seni, former member of Parliament for Tamale Central. The MPP had Dr. Dixon Adumakwikisi, who is also the member of Parliament for Anyan Sotu. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of today's edition of Weekly Press Review. My name is Sani Abdurrahman. Do join us, and same time next week as we come your way with the major headlines in the course of the week. Until then, enjoy the rest of our programs.